Hello there, and welcome back to some more Gran Turismo 5. Today we'll continue our Let's Play. This is episode 4. In today's episode, we are beginning our look at Jeff Gordon's NASCAR School in the special events, the beginners section of Jeff Gordon's NASCAR School. So, without further ado, let me introduce you to Jeff.
Hi, I'm Jeff Gordon, professional NASCAR driver. I'm here to teach you driving techniques that are very special to NASCAR racing. NASCAR is a race series with a lot of history, having started back in 1947. Though they're still called stock cars, today's NASCAR race cars are built on steel tube frames. NASCAR regulations require the car to be 3,400 pounds, which is kind of heavy for a competition racing car, but because of this, driving techniques for NASCAR require that much more precision, care, and finesse. The engine is a 358 cubic inch carbureted overhead valve V8. Now just hearing this, it might sound like old technology to you. But that's really not the case. Even though these NASCAR engines are OHV, they rev up to 10,000 RPM. Any engine expert would know that this requires the same level of technology as an F1 racing, which has double overhead cam engines revving up to 20,000 RPM. The transmission is a 4-speed. That's why you have to select the gear ratios to match each track. This setup of gear ratios is very important. In NASCAR, there's less difference in the performance of each race car, as compared to other categories of racing. That's why just a slight difference in the settings or the difference in driver skill can lead to winning or losing. Most NASCAR races are on an oval track. Though an oval track is very simple in shape, it's that very shape that makes it require unique driving techniques. One of the first things you'll need to learn is drafting in other people's slipstreams. The closer that you get to the car in front of you, the more you reduce aerodynamic drag of your car to overtake your opponents. Drafting is a technique that is of course required in all kinds of racing, but on an oval track, it becomes crucial. Because there are no low-speed corners, you can draft at any time. But remember, the better the draft, the less the downforce. Enough with the talking, let's get you into the car. You ready to drive? I'll see you on the track.
Well, wasn't that fucking terrifying, looking at Jeff Gordon's horrible in-game model. Anyways, let's actually get into his NASCAR School. The beginner section of events are focusing on one of the key parts of NASCAR racing, drafting. In this case, we're going to be using drafting to get ahead of another car. So these are essentially like some of the licenses we've been doing, more specifically A9 and B9 recently, which has essentially been focusing on drafting cars to get through traffic, and these are a lot like the Gran Turismo license tests essentially. Don't hit cones, don't hit walls, don't hit the other cars, and that's the way to do this. But this one, again, as it says on the tin, really just draft behind this car in front of us and get in front of him just before the first banked corner here at Daytona. And get used to seeing Daytona because it's in this game a lot. Anyways, yeah, that was very straightforward to go ahead and do. Nothing to really say about that. However, what is nice to say about this is the fact that you get paid 10 grand for that, which is a lot, and 800 XP, and you can't, not get a gold on that. I should mention once again, all special event payouts are only available once. You can only level up once through these events, so don't think you can do that over and over again for 10 grand over and over again and have a nice little money making strategy. You can't do that. Anyways, the next one is drafting with multiple cars, which is essentially like doing what you just did, but for slightly longer and with slightly more cars. Now, the key to this one, a lot like the drafting we've been doing in some of the license tests, the key to this is to draft every car in this field. You might look at that and think, oh, I can just stay behind the blue Lowe's car, but you can't. And so essentially jumping behind this blue Lowe's car for a bit, and then quickly switching over to, I believe that's Montoya's car, the Energizer one, to stick on his rear bumper for just a little bit, but trust me, just that little bit will get you just an edge, essentially. And then sit behind this car for just a teeny bit, and then you want to draft all the way up to Dale's rear end, and boom, straight across the line. It might take you a few attempts at that one. I did that first time round, but that's just because I sort of knew what I was doing. But yeah, just make sure you draft every car. Even if it seems like there's no point of doing that, it does make sense, trust me. So, yeah, there you go. There's another 10 grand, level up to a level 8. And that's the end of Jeff Gordon's NASCAR School. I'm afraid I made you sit through the entirety of that Jeff Gordon cutscene for what ultimately amounts to about a minute's worth of work. And for doing that, well, for reaching level 8, we got the Top Gear Test Track Intermediate, and for doing that, we get nothing. Absolutely nothing whatsoever. So thank you all very much for watching. Join us next time when we take a look at the Top Gear Test Track Beginner. Until then, farewell.
Yes, I will stay here for a while, for I need the break, a break from the bruises of life, and everything